when it comes to conspiracy theories and playing, just the tip with the world of Alex Jones, there's a war going on between Glenn Beck and Russell Brand. And the only reason Glenn Beck is ahead is because he's been at it longer. But if you'll notice, this is Glenn's show. Remember, folks, this is about America, not him. Remember, everybody has a giant wall with their name on it. It's completely normal and healthy. Yes, am I jealous? Yeah, of course I am. But for fuck's sake, it at least be red. Shit. But this little shit right here. Afghanistan, 80 days Americans left behind. What Americans? Who? Name them. Like, if you're going to have this fucking graphic up, do a segment. You know how, like, Nicole Wallace on Deadline White House, she'll sometimes talk about people who've been killed in a mass shooting or people who've died of COVID and the like, and they'll name them service members who've died, that kind of stuff. They'll actually go through them, list, details about their lives, personalize it for the nation, and then tell their name. This fucker's got a little, like, Instagraphic that he throws up. Yeah, so these guys are so fucking lazy. Anyways, how China maliciously released COVID throughout the world. Maliciously. Now I know what you're thinking. This is not a good look for Trump, but I'm sure that that he'll factor that in. I'm sure that that'll be a part of this. By the way, how many fucking notes do you need? Here's the thing. This is a screen over here. This teleprompter thing. This bit right here. This still his big touch screen. Basically, folks, anything you see in this picture, just Christmas list it. Just for me. You can just pretty much guess. At least I would put it to some good goddamn use.
Chris Stewart. Hi, Chris. How are you, sir?
Oh, that's right. By the way, he's got on a Republican congressperson from Utah, and the title of this is How China Maliciously Released COVID Throughout the World. And this is a Republican congressperson who is going to make the case that China not only knew about COVID and possibly, I guess, created it. We don't know what his angle is going to be, but they maliciously released it. They did it on purpose. It's kind of like stumbling on anthrax and using it as a weapon, right? That's the theory that's going to be put forward here. Now, well, we'll get to this. I have no doubt. I want to hear what their take is first.
Going back, good to be with you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on and talking about Fauci. I don't know if you had a chance to see the special we did last night.
No.
I did not. It turns out, Glenn, they don't broadcast.
Yeah, no, Glenn, he doesn't have internet in Utah. It's a thing. Well, they do have internet in Utah, but it's a very clean state, and they can only because of Mormonism and they have rules. I don't know. Do they even have download speeds? Let's see. Maybe they don't. Let me see if I can find them. No, they've got internet. It's Utah's got. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe there's something else. Let's see. No, I don't really need that, Bustle. Thanks very much. Let's see. There's got to be. But at least they're trying to stop the internet, so that's good. That's the. All right, here we go. Sorry.
Special on the House floor. I think they should.
Were you on the House floor last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the House of Representatives. It's a job that he has to actually do.
So you are pushing through the Fauci Act. What is it?
Well, I love the acronym. Someone smarter than I did come up with this. Fairness and Accountability Underwriting Chinese Institutions. But it bans.
It's basically if we had just cut off the security funds we gave to the lab in Wuhan earlier, then the chances of stuff slipping out of this lab and killing a bunch of people would actually have been higher. And who cut off the funds? I can't remember.
Funding of gain-of-function research in China, which is clearly important, but it does more than that. It demands accountability for what happens there. It demands.
Yeah, there was. See, I have to. Okay, hold on. This is gonna be. Why do I give myself these giant? Let's see. Sky News. Hold on. Whoops. If I may, let's see. I'm gonna scroll this back a little bit. Let's see.
He was having discussions about whether this might have been genetically manipulated. Does that shock you?
Well, he was dealing with them, certainly, and my thing was a little bit different. I just wanted to stop it. Whether it developed one way or the other, I just wanted to stop it.
But it's important to know where it came from. It's extremely important to know how it developed.
Fauci was dealing with them, and I guess they were even making payments for certain kinds of research. And I ended that, too. I stopped that. When we found out about that, he was doing that during the Obama years. And when I found out about it, I said, can you imagine that the United States is making payments to a Chinese lab? So just that on its face didn't make sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch.
I'm sorry. You what now?
On gain-of-function research, though, and that was.
Hold on.
Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow the gain-of-function research to continue?
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at it, and at one point they might have done that, but ultimately what we did was...
I'm sorry. Hi, fuckhead. So can you do me a favor, folks? Yeah, because, I mean, come on. Who has that on call? You're welcome. But also, keep that little chunk in mind while these two morons discuss this topic.
Honesty, and then this should be blazingly obvious. We should restrict government officials and punish government officials who intentionally mislead Congress, and it's pretty clear that's happened. And so, it's just.
Well, yeah, especially the ones who are avoiding subpoenas right now. So that would be the.
To tie these loose ends that, I mean, a 7-year-old could look at the evidence and draw certain conclusions. Everyone.
Well, yeah, I do think that a 7-year-old could look at this moment.
This didn't make sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow?
I love the whole, like, just the nodding, because he did. Fuck. You're supposed to be one of Rupert Murdoch's. Sky News loves me. He just filled his diaper with soup. That is one of those moments where just Trump is completely just like, that's the only reaction.
For appears apparently Dr. Fauci, who, when you challenge him on some of the stuff, he thinks you're attacking science and
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's almost like people attacking Glenn Beck on being a complete fuckhead, and he's like, "You're attacking conservative ideas." Like, motherfucker, you're not a conservative.
Well, look.
So, but wait a minute. Hang on just a second. How will this help? Because what he did.
I'll tell you. You want to know how it'll help? By not getting passed. Yeah, it's a turd in a punch bowl bill. It's not going anywhere.
Change the definition of gain of function. I mean, if you're the guy in charge, you can change the definition. He granted waivers to Dr. Barrick and Dr. Shi when they stopped the funding. He said, yeah, that's right, except for this research. And then when he couldn't directly fund, he went through EcoHealth. And basically, I think it's more of a money laundering system where they are taking the money from the NIH, they're giving it to Peter Drazek, and then he is taking that.
Excuse me, his name is Peter Balsack, and he's an international criminal.
Money, and he's funding the lab and the research in Wuhan. So Fauci could easily say, well, I wasn't funding that. I was funding this company and what they do with their.
Yes. That's one of the issues when you're dealing with a lot of infectious disease labs and the like. They're going to fund other things themselves. Yes, that's true. Yeah. And?
It's their business.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there will always be, people who find ways around the intent of law or legislation.
Really? Well, I hope they never find out where the steps to the Capitol are.
Fortunately, that's just true. But this will make it harder. But more than that, Glenn, it shines a light on what you've been trying to do for a long time now. It shines a light and exposes the truth, and it exposes the deception, and helps the American people to see that at least some members of Congress see this, and at least some members of Congress are trying to fix it. But Glenn, I remember going back, sitting.
By the way, see what?
Intel Committee early in this process.
I guess that this see the allegation that he's making as fact, right? Okay.
And having agencies and other individuals come to us and telling us, yeah, we don't think it came from the lab. And I was so frustrated and angry with Sam. How can you possibly say that? How could you possibly know that already? And for you already to draw the conclusion that it did not come from the lab when
Well, because they looked at the actual genome of the disease itself.
You could show this to a seventh grader and they'd say, well, the evidence seems to indicate otherwise. Common sense.
Well, a 7-year-old might think that, but a 7-year-old isn't going to be able to know the difference between spliced DNA modification in the genome of a virus and a naturally occurring evolving one that mutates from multiple strains, either in a lab or in an animal. A 7-year-old is not going to fucking know the difference. They just came out of that door. Whoever behind that door made that thing. Hold on. Now hold on. We have to bring in an expert. If I could. I'm here to tell a story. What's that one? That's weird. Hold on. Not the one I normally use, is it? It is, I guess. Oh, here it is. That. Hello. I'm here in case you have any questions about viral genomes.
Seems to indicate otherwise. And it was one of the great deceptions of Dr. Fauci when he scoffed at that and belittled and ridiculed anyone who would even propose it, when we now know that he knew that they were doing this gain-of-function research at the labs, and he was deceptive.
Yeah, before, but then they stop it.
Presenting that towards American people, and as I said, ridiculing anyone who would even suggest something he knew that was happening. And the evidence or the behavior of the Chinese is so obvious. Why in the world did the very first thing they do is go in and destroy these samples? Other than they did.
Well, maybe because they're dangerous.
Chris, you have to watch the special last night, because I have put together.
No. By the way, if you want me to do this special, I'll do it. He's not gonna watch it. I'll watch it.
The timeline, and Fauci absolutely knew what was going on. It is so clear that it came from this lab and that Fauci then covered it up. You remember all the Fauci emails that came out and they were all redacted? Well,
Yeah.
if you're smart, you just FOIA
You just pretend, right?
people who were on the CC list and hope that theirs wasn't redacted or it was redacted in different places. And then you can piece all of the emails together. Well, that's what we did. And when you see it was in 2 days, Fauci went from a total panic to meeting with a guy from Welcome, which is from England, a really spooky funder of stuff up until like the 1980s.
Yeah, my God. Yes, spooky funder of stuff until the 80s.
We're still going for eugenics. They disavowed eugenics in the 1980s.
Well, I think that's a good move forward. Was he working there at the time?
And they are the second biggest funder next to the NIH. And they get on the phone right away, and say, Fauci's own email, gain of function research. And they start talking about what's going on in China. We have to find out, but it's all off the record. We'll talk about it in person. They bring a meeting together, and
You mean he called all the labs with knowledge of this kind of stuff and had a massive meeting about a pandemic that was gaining steam across the entire world with everyone that he knew and had worked with in infectious disease before? Why would he do such a thing? Why would he call the top organizations who work to mitigate disease on the planet?
they decide what the story is, and the story is this did not come from a lab.
Yeah, is that what the emails say? Hold on. Let's see. It's got to be on here, right? Hold on. Let's see. Blaze. Virus special. Okay. Filter. This week. Blaze. Hold on. TV. There you go. 5 to go. Rand Paul. Deadly negligence. And that's 4 months ago. Okay. When is this? Filters. This week. Come on. Okay. 4 days ago. 2 days ago. Western civilization is in peril. Is that it? That's 6 days ago. They haven't posted it yet? Why do Democrats still ignore risky virus research? This is him on Glenn. That's Rand Paul on him. Is it on Blaze? Hold on. Now I've got to go look for it. Let's see. I'm not subscribing. Do I sign in with a... Shit. I'm not going to sign up for this shit. All shows. Glenn. And then that thing. Maybe there's a... Let's see. Wanna fight tyranny? The epic true story. Media cycle. Latest episodes. Media cycle. Think you're stupid. Panic politics. Profit. Sneak peek. Glenn's most dangerous channel. Triggered. Let's go. Ousted border chief tells all. Dominant broke Glenn's ruin. Build back bankrupt. 21. These are all, let's see, escaping the Taliban. We are still winning. Dividing states of America. King Biden kills the Constitution. Oh, border crisis contained. No, that's not it. I'm This is Glenn's show, so I'm just scrolling. Weaponizing crisis. Oh, look, Giuliani was on there. Could America survive another 9/11? Rudy Giuliani responds, not if I'm mayor. And they put all of our resources in the main targets. So let's see, time to resign. Yeah, that'll happen. Christians are being killed while the West can't abandon Afghan Christians. Stranded at the gates. 48 minutes. Episode 131. Good Lord, man. The amount of bullshit. CRT lies. Oh, God. The Great Reset of energy. Free Brittany. Like he gives the Great Reset of food. He's got like chapters on every fucking thing. Every Great Reset thing has its own variation. Oh, look, it's Dave Rubin. The Great Reset of property. Jesus Christ. Where is this thing? Right-wing violence on the rise. Dollar decimation. Some serious clickbait. Comply or die. I think we looked at that one. Where's this fucking documentary? Shit. All right. I call bullshit until I get to see it.
The people that were involved in that were staunchly for the lab theory, said that this is not natural. Well, what do you know? They come out of that meeting and they say, nope, definitely not in a lab. And
yeah, why don't you put that graphic up on the screen, Glenn? Nope, definitely not in the lab. That's how they came out. They were staunchly for it, and then they came away thinking, no, it's not actually lab created. Is that how it read?
Should discredit anyone. The very next day, they begin to discredit anyone who says it came from a lab. And 6 months later, those scientists that said,
well, no, a big bunch of them start debunking the idea that it was created by people, that it was fused together from other viruses, not that it didn't come from a lab. A lot of people were like, it came from Wuhan. We don't know if it came from the lab. It leaked out of the lab. It was in the wet market. Somebody from the wet market was doing tests and brought it to the lab, but it's a big mix and nobody can tell. And the Chinese government isn't saying shit. The difference isn't where it came from materially, as if somebody fucking made it on purpose. And what he's saying is basically the idea that they went and had a conversation. Is this natural or man-made? And it could be natural and still mutated in the lab. But the idea is that, no. If they're saying it didn't, if it's not man-made, they're saying it didn't come from the lab. This is so goofy.
They changed their mind. Guess who got funding? Millions of dollars in funding. Those guys. I mean,
everybody did. They were looking for a solution to the disease. Everybody was given money to research it worldwide.
This is a clear-cut cover-up.
No, it fucking isn't.
And Fauci is at the center of all of it. It's bad.
Glenn, I couldn't agree with you more, and you didn't ask a question in there. So,
well, you didn't ask a question in there.
I'll respond to say I agree with you, and what you're saying is right. If I could make 2 points, if I could.
Yeah.
For those on the left who deify Dr. Fauci, I asked him, why in the world are you doing that to an individual who has admittedly lied to you again and again and again? And the CDC should not.
Where we left them, they were saying that Fauci knew about gain-of-function research until the Obama pause. And then when Trump restarted it again, the funding went back to it again.
Early in the pandemic, if there aren't enough masks, then don't lie to the American people and say masks don't work. When what you really mean is, hey, we don't want you to wear masks. We need to save them for first responders. And that was the first
Yeah, that's not what he was saying.
lie. And then to lie about the origins, and then to lie about the funding, and it goes on and on. Why would you deify someone who admittedly lies to you about something?
No, first of all, nobody's fucking deifying anyone. If anybody has been deified in the last 5 fucking years, and certainly over the last year, it's this dipshit. Please explain to me how Republicans are not deifying this dickhead. People are listening to Fauci because he's been involved in infectious disease for decades. He was the point person on the expertise. And every time Birx was sent out to talk as the alternative to Fauci, she would sit there and nod as Trump suggested sticking a light bulb up your ass and pouring bleach in your fucking lungs.
And the other important point I'd like to make, and it's a sidebar, but it's I think critical of this, and that is the maliciousness of the Chinese Communist Party. We were watching Wuhan, and they shut that city down hard. You could not air travel from Wuhan to any other Chinese city. You couldn't take a train, a car. You couldn't literally not hike out of the city. They shut down every trail, every dirt road, with one exception, and that is you could fly internationally from Wuhan to Los Angeles, to New York, to Paris, and to London, and a number of other cities. And China essentially said, we know this is going to have enormous economic costs. We know it's going to have enormous human costs, and we're not going to suffer alone. We're going to make sure the rest of the world suffers with us, and then we're going to use it to...
Okay, so did they create it and release it, or just because it was a happy accident, because it fell out of the Wuhan lab, this is just an opportunistic infection, pardon the pun?
Economic advantage. And part of this effort is to hold China accountable as well for their maliciously seeding this virus around the rest of the world.
Well, I will tell you.
Maliciously seeding this virus around the world. Maliciously seeding this virus. These Representative Chris Stewart from the state of Utah, a Republican, and Glenn Beck agree that the Chinese government intentionally released this disease upon the world in an attack on our economic strength and stability and on our nation as a whole, intentionally killing our citizens. This is the opinion of a Republican senator from Utah and Glenn Beck and everyone on Glenn Beck's staff and everyone who works for Representative Chris Stewart of Utah, which also means that this guy was president during the worst and most directed bioweapon attack in American history, and his response was to ignore it for months, sign a trade deal with the people that these two assholes say sent it here, one that they only honored a third of, and continue to talk about the president, the chairman of that country, as if he was a powerful leader and he was on top of it. He's very professional. He was handling it very professionally. So this guy was president during what these guys say was an intentional, malicious seeding of a virus. Intentional, malicious seeding of a virus throughout the world. China attacked the world with a bioweapon, including the United States. And this asshole decided in July of that year to sell China the largest order of pork, beef, soybeans, and corn in our nation's history, while Americans were in food lines. Do you see the intrinsic flaw of seeing this guy as some kind of a leader during any of this shit? Anybody see the contradiction between these guys? Because both of these assholes are Trump supporters. Both of these assholes voted for Trump again last fall. They voted for this guy. Even though, according to them, how China maliciously released COVID throughout the world. Released it throughout the world. They did this on purpose. And Trump made a deal with the Chinese during this time. Greased the wheels, kissed their ass, called their leader intelligent, strong, professional in the handling of it. They don't see how what they're saying, if you take them seriously, if you say this is what they really believe, that literally Donald Trump is the worst president in our nation's history and stood by on during the greatest bioweapon attack on our country, in our country's history, and shrugged it off and literally downplayed the attack as it happened, because that's what they're saying it is. It's an attack.
In 2018, Peter Daszak from EcoHealth, Dr. Shi.
Sorry, Peter, it's Peter Balsack, for the record. High Plains Drifter, thank you. The GOP want to make the jerk Speaker of the House. Please let that happen. Like, the work he would actually have to do.
Dr. Barrett, Barrick from the United States, all sent a proposal to DARPA, and they proposed making humanized mice, taking coronaviruses from bat poop, and trying to get it into a humanized mouse lung to see if it would kill and then make a vaccine. DARPA said no. DARPA said no, not going to fund it. But they all...
That's weird, because Trump actually, if you'll recall, quick reminder, just as a reset.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow the gain-of-function research to continue?
Well, I think...
That's, by the way, 2018. 2018 is the year he's talking about. That's what that's the time period Glenn Beck and Representative Chris Stewart from the lovely state of Utah are talking about.
People,
just for the record,
already had funding. And if you look at something that was published in 2020 by Wuhan, it's that experiment. And that experiment was done in Wuhan by these people in the summer of 2019. Then in September, you have the Wuhan data bank being shut down. On September 12th, you have security called in, and they beef up security and lock the place down. The next...
That's weird. Why would they have to beef up security? Oh, because they had lacked security at that time because Trump had cut off the funding, which at that point was only going to security.
They call out for bids and for an emergency air handling system. They need to change out all the air handling. Then 2 weeks after that, they order an air incinerator. And then you have 3 researchers in one hospital. We have all the Chinese documents in Chinese and translated. You have 3 people that were working in that lab going for COVID-like symptoms in one hospital. And in
Hey, fucko, I know. He's about to say in October of 2019.
October, we have the records of 10 different hospitals in Wuhan, and all of them, 10 hospitals, had COVID-like symptoms, and they were treating people who were dying of COVID in October. And the same time, they do nothing. China allows the games, the world.
Yes, the World Military Games. That's right. And there's a theory that they spread it in the military games. And again, tell me, who the fuck was president when this happened? Who was in charge of the whole goddamn country at that point? Glenn? Who was it? Was it the guy and his vice president, who's now president, who created the pandemic relief, pandemic response team? Or was it the guy that dismantled it just because the last guy made it? Who was in charge? Was it the guy who put a pause on gain-of-function research, or the guy who restarted it? Glenn, who was president in 2018 and 2019? You dizzy fuck.
War games to go on in Wuhan, and they were checking the temperature of everyone who got off and on a plane in October.
Yeah.
Chris.
Well, Glenn, the research you've done on this is just a beautiful thing.
No, it isn't. Because you've missed one major detail. And that's that Biden wasn't president when this happened. And Trump admitted to downplaying the entire thing for months, helping it build steam and kill more people. And everything he claims that he did, that, oh my God, we saved so many lives, was in the pandemic response team's manual that they left behind for him when he dismantled that organization. And in the Democratic bills that were put forward, money to pre-buy all of the vaccines that we would need. All that stuff. Everybody that was on board for that plan. There was not a single person in the CDC or the NIH that was going, I don't know, we shouldn't give money out to these vaccine companies before they have them. We should wait. Nobody fucking said that.
Thank you for doing it. I mean, you've said things that I don't know anyone else in the country has said, and it wasn't easy for you to.
Well, granted, I mean, it is a good sign that Glenn is the dumbest motherfucker in the entire country. Sorry, Dan Bongino, you've had the crown knocked off your head.
This information. Thank you for doing it. The Fauci Act will help you and others, as it does require greater transparency, but more importantly, it forbids us from ever doing anything like this again.
But Chris,
what you have, Glenn.
Hey, you know what forbids us from ever doing anything like this again? Always having Democratic presidents.
We have to, I mean, first of all, I don't know. Can you get this through with the Democrats in charge?
Well, it turns out that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I figured.
Is it a bit of a challenge? Thank you, High Plains Drifter. Blames the plague of 1300 on Biden's ancestors. Right. Let's see. U.S. gain of function research. Biden. Let's see, August 31st. Let's see. Eco Health Alliance. Oh, see, I thought they were protecting people. There you go. Whoops, 1 second. This is from CNBC. The director of National Institutes of Health said Monday it appears that COVID-19 originated from an animal, but he didn't rule out the possibility that scientists at the Wuhan Institute of Virology were secretly studying it and that it could have leaked out from there. Again, this is the difference between it was created by people and it was allowed to escape by people. It's still unknown if the virus leaked out of the Wuhan lab, NIH Director Dr. Francis Collins said Monday in an interview with CNBC's Squawk Box, adding that the World Health Organization's investigation into the origin of the coronavirus has gone backwards. The vast evidence from other perspectives says no, this was a naturally occurring virus, not to say that it could not have been under study secretly at the Wuhan Institute of Virology and got out of there. We don't know about that. But the virus itself does not have the earmarks of having been created intentionally by human work. That's the difference. And so the statements that it was created by China as a bioweapon and intentionally released because it's a modified and fabricated virus, people being shut down for saying that shit, which was unproven, incendiary, and dangerous, compared to it may have been naturally occurring but got out of a lab with sketchy security measures, which had been defunded by the Trump administration on purpose previous to this happening. If anybody gives a shit, the difference between saying that they made it in the lab and it escaped from the lab are two totally different fucking things. Even if it mutated in the lab from a natural course. So, I think, and this is a WHO investigation has been made harder by China's refusal to participate, says Collins. I think China basically refused to consider another WHO investigation and just said, nope, not interested. Wouldn't it be good if we had actually opened up their lab books and let us know what they were actually doing there and find out more about the cases of people who got sick in November of 2019? About which we really don't know enough. U.S. intelligence reports first report of the Wall Street Journal indicated that in November 2019, 3 workers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology fell ill with symptoms similar to those seen in COVID-19 infections. A report that China said was completely untrue, which means it's true. And by the way, China didn't say that. The government of China said that. About 3 months ago, President Joe Biden initiated an investigation of his own and gave his intelligence community 90 days to further investigate the virus's origins and report the findings. The deadline is Tuesday. This was a while back. This is what this is from. Biden orders closer review of COVID origins as U.S. intel weighs Wuhan lab leak theory. President Biden has ordered a closer intelligence review of what he said were 2 equally plausible scenarios of the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. Biden revealed that earlier this year he asked the intelligence community to assess whether it emerged from human contact with an infected animal or from a laboratory accident. The hypothesis that the virus may have escaped from a Chinese lab has gained more mainstream traction. Just like lazy.
And I don't really understand that, Glenn. I mean, why in the world would the Democrats not say, hey, China was malicious?
Hey, why would they? They were malicious. They were malicious. Why wouldn't they say that China was malicious? Why wouldn't they say that China released a bioweapon and attacked us? Because it would be a fucking act of war. And if they did that, and the Congress of the United States certified that in writing, that this was an intentional attack, especially without fully knowing, even as suspicious as the whole goddamn thing is, it's a declaration of fucking war. How could it not be? Why won't they just say it? Why don't they just pass what I wrote? You know? Just cause. Fucking hell.
We should hold them accountable. And if any U.S. persons or U.S. organizations...
Hey, asshole, the only way to hold them accountable in that scenario is war. They killed more Americans on American soil than at any other time since the Civil War.
Were complicit in it. We should hold.
Yeah, they should pay us some money for the dead Americans, because that's a fair response to a bioweapon, and that'll keep them from sending the next one. Good God!
Why is that a partisan issue to take?
Because of what is, we all know is the deep state. Fauci is part of that. He does what he wants.
Derp. It's the derp state. It's the derp state.
To do, no matter what the law is, no matter what the president says, he just goes around it. We have to root out.
Hey, asshat. None of that happened during the break that Obama ordered. It happened after Trump changed the orders. Everything he's talking about happened after I mean, like, how many fucking times do we have to watch this goddamn thing? And Trump does not refute this at all.
To a Chinese lab. So just that on its face didn't make sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow the gain-of-function research to continue?
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at it, and at one point they might have done that. But ultimately, what we did was we shut it off. We shut the whole thing off, and we stopped.
And no, he didn't. He stopped the security funds. See, you don't have to pay for the gain-of-function stuff to allow it to go forward with our people working on it, with them or whatever. That doesn't cost extra money. You just let them do what they're going to do. They've got funding for that in China. What you do pay for is the security so it doesn't get out.
Payments that were approved much earlier than our administration.
Yeah, payments for security at the Wuhan lab, which he canceled. And by the way, Glenn Beck knows this. I don't know if Chris Stewart does. This is my first time with stewart.house.gov.
All of these actors who just do whatever they want, no matter what you guys say.
Well, and what it comes down to as well is, does anyone think that this administration is serious about holding China accountable? Does anyone think this or that China?
Yes, I do. Because this is not the administration that bullshitted on behalf of Xi Jinping during the beginning of the pandemic, played it down so they could get a trade deal passed, ignored it, kept trying to jumpstart the economy in the middle of shit while Americans were dying, and then sold a bunch of fucking food to China in the middle of it. What are you talking about? This, all right, god damn it. May I? New window. Let's see. I'm going to grab a couple of things. Give me 1 second. Let's see. And let's see. Let's see. Let's see. It says here. Here you go. All right. Let's start with this. Does anybody expect this White House to hold China accountable? Oh, I forgot one more. Hold on 1 second. There's one more. Okay. AUKUS, U.S. Australia, U.S. UK signed deal in nuclear submarine alliance, pissing off China. Again, one of the things that Trump could have done at any time, but did not do. Do you think there's something that changed in the last 4 years besides, COVID attitudes that would have changed our situation in terms of giving Australia our nuclear technology, so we build the subs with them? Anything? Nope. So Trump could have formed an AUKUS-like agreement, right? But he just didn't, because it would have upset Xi Jinping. Yeah, pissed off France too, although they're fine. We ended up buying them off, I think. That's my guess. We're buying something from France for like $40 billion. Here you go. Destroyer makes its 7th U.S. Navy Taiwan Strait transit in 2021. 7 times already this year, and this was July, so they've been continuing to do it. That our ships are passing between Taiwan and China. They're doing laps around the fucking island. They're doing laps around the country. We are also partnering with UK ships and Japanese ships who are in the same waters. Biden was right to reaffirm U.S. support for Taiwan in this. Go away. With the Biden administration's China policy under wraps for months, no one quite knew what to expect from U.S. Trade Representative Katherine Tai's speech at the Center for Strategic and International Studies leading up to Monday's event. It sounded like she would use this opportunity to put China on notice. Last week, Tai told Politico that the Biden administration plans to build on existing tariffs on billions of dollars in Chinese imports and confront Beijing for failing to fulfill its obligations under a Trump-brokered trade agreement. Yeah. Failing to fulfill its obligations under a Trump-brokered trade agreement. You know, art of the deal. However, the speech took a much more moderate tone, while Tai called for holding China accountable and they work for durable coexistence. After a months-long review of China policy, the Biden administration determined that the China Phase 1 deal signed by the Trump administration did not meaningfully address the fundamental concerns we have with Chinese trade practices and their harmful impacts on the U.S. economy. According to Tai, the agreement failed to push for fundamental changes in Beijing's state support for certain sectors of the economy, such as its steel, solar, and semiconductor industries. Biden's emerging China trade policy includes several positive steps. For starters, Tai announced she will reinstate the exclusion process for products subject to the Section 301 tariffs on imports from China. Tariffs of up to 25% remain on roughly two-thirds of U.S. imports from China. Earlier this year, the Biden administration stopped processing exclusion requests for non-medical products. Which means that the stuff that got by that because of COVID. And even before the speech, Tai had already made strides to lessen trade tensions with U.S. allies, primarily the UK and the EU. Earlier this year, the administration signed an agreement to defer additional retaliatory measures in the decades-long dispute over aircraft subsidies with those countries. Remember that deal that we talked about this earlier this year? This problem that's been going on for years. About basically European countries subsidizing their airplane companies and making it hard for Boeing and and Lockheed Martin and all the American companies to compete because the states were funding them basically, so they were artificially propping them up so you could keep their profits high. The United States and the EU agreed to suspend tariffs from the Boeing Airbus trade dispute for an additional 5 years. The tariffs were initially suspended by a 4-month period, March 2021 to July 2021. U.S. and EU have agreed to suspend tariffs for the Boeing Airbus trade dispute for 4 months, and then they did it again. The tariffs, which were effective October 29th to February 2021, have covered $12 billion of traded goods and cost the United States $1.6 billion. The 4-month suspension of these tariffs could possibly, and possible future repeal, will increase economic cooperation between the United States and the EU, which could help counter the economic influence of China. Other major trade tensions remain between the U.S. and EU that could offset the added benefits from the repeal of these tariffs. They're working through that shit too. Largely, there's a back and forth about effectively the supply chain aspects of some of this stuff right now. It's hard to break down. But just for the record, AUKUS, Trump could have done that, just didn't. Trump could have done this, just didn't. Trump could have done this, didn't. Trump could have done this, didn't. He couldn't have done anything. And then, of course, the Quad. 5 things to know about Biden's Quad summit with leaders of India, Australia, and Japan. The U.S. This is the Quad. And it's about this, basically an alliance in the Indo-Pacific region. When President Biden hosts the leaders of Japan, Australia, and India at the White House on Friday, it will be part of a push, analysts say, to reorient U.S. foreign policy away from long wars and traditional alliances in Europe, and instead focus on countering a fast-rising foe, China. Does anybody believe that this administration, blah, 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 fuckity, blah? Just douchebags.
As President Xi is intimidated or fearful of this president.
No.
And there's a
No, of course, no. Why would he be intimidated by Australia and U.S. Nuclear-powered submarines in the area for the first fucking time? Why would he be intimidated by the fact that why would she be intimidated after this UAE secret Chinese base, U.S. Biden, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Why would that happen? U.S. succeeds in halting construction of secret Chinese port project in UAE. Why would Xi Jinping fear a man who got his secret military base he was building in the port of Khalif discovered and stopped? Now, do you think, Glenn was just over there pretending to be in Afghanistan while hanging out in a 4-star hotel or a 7-star hotel or whatever the fuck in the UAE or in Qatar or some shit? You think he might have known about this? Do you think they started building this fucking thing January 20th or November 4th of last year? No. They've been at it for 2 years. So either Trump told the IC to stand down looking for this kind of shit, or it was falling on deaf ears when they were bringing this information to the White House and he didn't want to fucking hear it because he was trying to make his trade deal happen. So he didn't want to piss off China. And meanwhile, Biden rolls in and shuts the fucking thing down. I don't even know if people fucking grasp how definitive, quick, and extraordinary this is. Yeah, MJ Daniel, it is a good thing. So fuck Glenn Beck and this dipshit from Utah and their anti-American talking points. I swear to God, these assholes are going to make me do this show in a fucking Captain America outfit every goddamn day.
And why he's not. And I think that's a partial explanation as well as to why our Democratic colleagues in the House are not going to be helpful on this.
Chris,
the good news.
No, they're not going to be helpful on this because the text of that document would be a declaration of war, and everything about it could just be a policy shift. And if you wanted to write a single bill that says the United States does not fund gain-of-function research in foreign labs, we can do it here at our military labs because we trust our safety protocols, but we're never given a dime to any, third world or developing country who's trying this shit ever again, it would pass in an afternoon.
We're going to take the House and Senate in 2 years.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, in a year. We're going to, and then we will do this work that they won't allow us to do right now.
Chris, you are so good on.
And by the way, no, he's fucking well not. If the Republicans take the House next year, none of what he's talking about, this Fauci Act shit, is going to pass. It'll die. If anything, they'll scoop everything out of it that is protective.
Foreign Affairs. President Xi and President Biden had a 3-hour meeting. The reports from China says that President Xi said,
which is, by the way, just the fucking fact that this son of a bitch is going to take the CCP's word on how that meeting went. I mean, this is no different from the same smoke they blew up Putin's ass. Putin thought Trump was amazing until he thought Biden was a healthy guy and very sharp, and they're like, Putin's losing it. The fact that you would take fucking China's word about any of this shit, do you think that Glenn is going to follow it up with a question about, do we believe the death figures from COVID in China? Oh, how this tip is for your hilarious Appalachian cousin comedy bit last night. Had me bellyache laughing. I'm so glad, Melinda. Thank you so much for the super chat.
you're messing with fire with Taiwan and you will get burned.
Yeah, it's called Wolf Warrior diplomacy. They're full of shit. Fuck off. Who cares? Of course they're going to talk like that. And why would you foment an idea that, man, if they say, oh, shit, man. Oh, they said what? Oh, shit. Unbelievable.
The news reports from China say that...
I'm sorry, where were they from, Glenn?
Biden just wanted to talk about global warming, and he said he won't mess with Taiwan. And
is that what he said? He won't mess with Taiwan? Is that what he said? Is that what the Chinese reports are saying? Tell you what, Glenn, read off any Chinese report about, I don't know, a flood that wipes out an entire town. And then tell me that when they say 6 fucking people died, you believe it.
China, I don't know if I believe that, but I don't know what to believe anymore. Have you?
Well, it's interesting to me, Glenn, since you don't know what to believe. Your dummy default is to believe the Chinese media. That's fucking amazing to me. Think about that for a second. Just grasp that shit. Glenn Beck would rather believe the country that is currently operating Uyghur concentration camps, that has solved poverty by deciding that if you make more than $400 a year, if you make you're in poverty if you make $400 a year. You know how much you have to make to not be in poverty? $401. If you make more than $400 by $1, you have beat poverty in China. You are no longer impoverished. That's who Glenn Beck wants you to believe over the U.S. media, which, with whatever like incendiary slant you think they might have, the vast majority of the actual details are there, and certainly the freedom to talk out of your ass is there.
Heard anything on this?
Well, I think our readout is different than theirs. There's no question about it.
Okay,
and that's
good.
why.
Oh, different? Is it different? How's it different? How's it different? It's just, it's not that theirs is a fucking lie. And, you know, 你们知道我会喜欢中文. I really like China as a culture, I like the people, but the government is fucked. And anybody pretending otherwise, and it's getting worse. This is like somebody who liked, you know, fucking going from Austria to Germany, you know, in 1909 and started going, what the fuck is happening?
Put their readout first, but I will say this too. I don't believe for a second this is a 3.5-hour meeting unless it included nap time.
Yeah, that's not a CCP talking point either. Fuck you.
This president, I just don't think anyone engages for that amount of time. But
that's just because you can't and Glenn can't. I mean, that's just fucking gross. Think about what they're talking about. The 3-hour Zoom call that Biden had with Xi Jinping, and the big joke is that they had to take a break for a nap, and that's the good God. Yeah, it's definitely ageism, but it's increasingly pathetic.
If you don't think those conversations took place, take a look at the conversations that took place up in Alaska, where the Chinese embassies or ambassadors came and just berated our Secretary of State and others in a very public way, in a way that we've never seen before, and then asked.
Let's see. This is what he's talking about, by the way. China berates U.S. and Alaska showdown. This is from Foreign Policy. No thanks. Yang Jiexi's statements, though pointed, are better viewed through a domestic lens, meaning that they are posturing for the people at home. An explosive start to U.S.-China talks. Discussions between top U.S. and Chinese officials are set to continue this morning in Anchorage, Alaska, after a day of talks that was marked by an unapologetic opening diatribe from a senior Chinese official. The meeting began with an opening statement by U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, laying out U.S. concerns with Chinese actions over Xinjiang, Hong Kong, Taiwan, as well as recent cyber attacks. Each of these actions threaten the rules-based order that maintains global stability, Blinken said. Yang Jieqi, a ranking diplomat and former Chinese ambassador to the United States, then excoriated the United States in a 15-minute speech during which he charged the United States with hypocrisy on human rights and its treatment of minorities, criticized U.S. foreign interventions, and accused U.S. officials of, quote, possessing a Cold War mentality. And by the way, if you want, just like we've seen the Republicans are the only people on American television telling everyone that that our border is open, that we have an open border. If you're going to hear the border is open, you're going to hear it from Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Don Jr., all that shit. You're never going to hear it from a Democrat because it's not true. But the Republicans are going to tell everybody in the whole fucking world that our border is open. So when people arrive thinking the border is open, they didn't hear it from the president or the administration or even the Congress or the Senate. They heard it from Republicans on television. Secondly, fuck this guy. Who cares? They're trying to save face. The United States does not represent the international public opinion, neither does the Western world, Yang said. Minister Yang Yi then followed Yang's remarks, offering a more conciliatory tone, recognizing Blinken and Sullivan as true friends of the Chinese people, while questioning the timing of a U.S. decision to sanction Chinese officials over Hong Kong on the eve of the meeting. Yeah, that's why he's yelling. And he can yell all the fuck he wants. That's why. Do you think Glenn Beck's going to point out why this dude was yelling and why we don't give a fuck? It's because that asshole and many people in the high levels of the Chinese Communist Party are recognizing that economically the writing is on the wall in their country, and they are trying to shuffle money out of the country before the whole thing comes crumbling down. And they're buying real estate in the United States and in Canada and in European countries, and if they get sanctioned, they can't do it. And the house is on fire. They're shoveling money out the fucking windows, and we're slamming the windows shut. That's why he's pissed. And that guy, this Yang Jieqi, it's personal for that motherfucker. He's had a lot of back and forth with the United States over the years. He was an ambassador to the United States initially. That was his window to get his money out of China. He had an excuse to get out of the country, take shit with him, and make or like coordinate plans to get his wealth out of China before the whole thing burns down. And now he can't. Of course he's fucking pissed. And of course he can yell all he wants to. We don't give a shit. And the fact that our guys didn't give a shit is exactly why the second guy who spoke went, well, we know you guys are the good guys. We just blah, blah, blah. It's just, and listen to these fucking, I'm sorry. Like, this is as nationalistic and patriotic as I can possibly get, because it fucking aggravates me how these guys cannot stop shitting on the country and lying on behalf of the Chinese government. That's what Glenn Beck and this asshole are doing right now. This is a fucking lie. He knows it. Glenn knows it. Shitting on our own president in the middle of this stuff. And I had harsh words about Trump during his time in an office, and I didn't pull any punches. But I didn't go, well, at least Putin's a leader. Right? I wasn't inflating anybody else who was intrinsically worse on a worldwide scale that was, potentially attacking us. Trump kissed Xi's ass more than I did during that time. And I was in that fucking country for 2 years. God damn it.
Do you not think the same thing happened in this conversation? Because once again...
No, it fucking well didn't. Because it didn't happen in the first one, you lying piece of shit.
President Xi is not intimidated by this administration.
No, he's definitely intimidated by this administration. He's also surrounded by Confederates, and his country is taking a giant shit right now. Do we have to dip into this stuff every goddamn time? Do they even bother? Do they even try? You think Xi Jinping is grinding his teeth over Joe Biden right now? China may have to juice its economy soon as stagflation risk rises. Yeah, we don't have stagflation. They do. China's central bank signals easing as economic risks mount. China sets stage for easing monetary policy as central bank deletes language from new... Jesus Christ. Deletes language from new report. The People's Bank of China deleted several phrases in its latest monetary policy report, a move that economists say signals a shift towards easier policy. The phrases had signaled a level of restraint in central bank policy despite signs of a growing slowdown in the economy. They're abandoning Xi Jinping's economic strategy. They are bailing on it right now.
Chris, thank you for everything you guys are doing. Thank you for being one of the people that you're actually standing up for the regular person. I'd like to send you...
He's not... No, and by the way, it's nice to know that Glenn Beck thinks Xi Jinping is a regular person.
This research so you have it, because I think that will help you on the floor of the House with the Fauci Act. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hey, send him a copy of this shit. Glenn, while you're at it, send him the part where Trump turned on gain-of-function research again after he was in office. Do you have that in there? And that the 2 years of shit you're talking about happened after that happened? God damn. Did they just think, well, just nobody fucking checks? Nobody checks. Is that what we're doing? Is that what it is?
Thank you, Glenn. I'll look forward to that.
You got it. Congressman Chris Stewart, and please call your congressman and tell them you want passage of the Fauci Act, which will hold people.
How about this? How about I call this asshole? I call Chris Stewart out on his lying on behalf of the Chinese government. How about that? I hope we'll more than likely we will clip this piece. The CSL can take the part where I diverged into the Lindell stuff and slap these chunks together maybe in one piece. But I intend on at some point passing this on to Glenn Beck. And if Glenn, you've made it all the way to this point, fuck you, buddy. The idea that you would talk shit about this country like that when you know the difference, when you know you are lying, is friggin' grotesque. And it's almost worse if you just can't be bothered to look. Ugh. Just friggin' gross.